I've been doing this for a long time, playing with it for a long time. I got serious about it a little while back, and I've just gotten back into it after a bit of a break. It's a super fun style. Somehow it touches on something primal when you pick up a spear and a shield. It's just this beautiful thing. All right, let's start out this way. What are the advantages of the spear over a sword? Reach. That's absolutely number one, range. Anyone else? One more major advantage of the spear over a sword.
You got an additional blocking surface?
Yeah. Yep, fair enough. How about fencers? What's the advantage of a spear over a sword?
It's also a lot harder to gauge the tip when it's hitting.
Yeah, thrust is always going to be faster than a cut. Always. So you have two major advantages. The other weird thing that you'll see later on that a spear has an advantage in is it has a different tempo than a sword. Because you get these kind of like half-beat shots, but we'll talk about that later. All right, so my spear, the way that I've found it to work for me, which is not to say it's going to work best for everybody, I do a 6-foot spear. I don't like the short spears because I want a butt spike. Probably 75% of my kills come from the butt spike, actually, not from the front. So I like to have some room on the back to be able to get that in there. The other thing is definitely to have that butt spike on there, so two thrusting surfaces. The cut doesn't matter as much. I don't get a lot of cuts with the spear just in the way that I fight. All right, so basics. Because range is your ultimate advantage, you have to play to range. That means that your stance, best way that I've found to work it is your stance is always going to be your spear foot forward. That gives you that little bit of extra range that you need. The weird thing is everybody knows that this has range, but most people don't know how much range it has because nobody fights spear and shield. So the other thing that I found is to kind of square up your stance a little bit more than you would with sword and board usually. Still spear foot forward. This is the hard part. The hard part is to put your spear shoulder back. What that does, so right here, if I'm fighting with my spear shoulder forward, you can see what my range is. When I'm fighting this way, especially with the shield out, it hides that range a lot, and it does that visual of making me seem like I'm spear foot back. So it takes about a foot of the range off from what you're seeing. Does that kind of make sense?
Yep.
So it's a weird thing. That took me a long time to figure out. So always back this way. One more question for y'all. Anytime you fight a weapon that has range, what's automatically going to be your strategy for how to fight it? Close, right? 100% close, which is why the butt spike is so incredibly important. Sir Brayhan, if you don't mind, would you come forward on me?
Yep.
So I miss, because you always wait for that shot, right?
Yes.
I miss, and that automatically comes up into this butt spike. And the beauty is the angle of that butt spike doesn't just go into the face, it also bottoms on the chest. So that means that it's not going to skip off of anybody's face or the top of their dome. It's going to stop them. Even if it hits them in the shield, it's going to stop them, which gives me a second to reset.
Okay. So butt spike.
Butt spike.
So you're relying on the second shot.
I'm really relying on the first shot. I want to kill you with the first shot because I don't want you to close. But that's the advantage. And that's that tempo change. So I missed that first one. Instead of pulling back to strike again, I missed the first one and it automatically comes up in this like half-beat butt spike. Does that kind of make sense?
Yeah. Oh.
So that's the basis of how to fight the whole thing. Spear foot forward, spear shoulder back, miss the first shot because they're going to block it most times, and that spins up into the butt spike. The minute they take a step forward, that butt spike comes up and is ready. The nice thing is, put your shield up on this one if you don't mind. The nice thing is, if I throw my butt spike up and he decides not to come in, I can strike down with it because it's already here over my head like a sword, so I can cut back at it. Good? It doesn't hit a lot of people, but they have to respect it, which means that they may stop in their charge. Good? Them's the basics.
What about where you're holding it? Is it
Yes,
lower?
okay.
It's the opposite balance point, right?
Yeah, so well, I tend to hold it, I found to hold it at the back 2/3. So the final third, that is. What I found that does is it always gives me the advantage of range against any sword, which is what the majority of your opponents are fighting with. And it gives me enough here on the butt spike to stab over their shield. I tried for a while fighting with it here, which is why I had this really light spear. Okay, hang on, gotta get into some more complicated stuff. With this one, if you're holding in that back third, getting cuts is a little bit difficult because the back end hits you. It's really tied up with it being able to get cuts, so you end up hitting yourself more often than them and fouling your own cut. So I tried fighting back here at this like pretty darn far back, about a foot and a half off the end, and you can definitely get a lot more cuts with that. With a light spear, you can get some pretty good cuts. The problem that I found with that is the butt spike isn't long enough to reach. Most people will pop their shield forward enough that I'm getting fouled right about here instead of actually landing the butt spike on it. So I'll switch it up sometimes if I want to mess with them. I'll switch it up sometimes so I've got a little bit of extra range, but then pull it back to that third that has the most control. I don't want to play with it in the half because I don't have the range that I need on the thrust. If I'm in here close enough to thrust at you, you're pretty well close enough to hit me with a sword. Okay?
It was crazy.
So that back 2/3 is what I found it to be the best. There was something else I was going to say with that.
Weight of rattan. Is there any specific rattan build you're looking for?
Yeah. Oh, thank you. Yes. I go for super light rattan, which also brings up another point in a second. I go for super light rattan because I'm doing this all one-handed. When you start lifting it up and playing with it this way, you'll immediately feel a burn here because you're pulling all this weight up a lot. So having a lighter spear is better, I've found. It's more, I have more stamina with the spear. By the way, spear is going to take a lot of your energy because you're running away a lot and you're running backwards. The other thing when it comes to weight of rattan, I don't like a head on the spear because it pulls the head down and it makes it more difficult for me to get the accuracy that I want. And I'm fighting with it a lot more. Do I?
It's on an added ball.
Yeah, okay, got it. Yeah, yeah. Anything with an added head like the one that you're holding there. Yeah. I don't like those.
Robin's the main older girl.
Right. Okay. Let's go with basic attack. So everybody just do your basic stance real quick. The one that I showed you. Spear foot forward.
Oh, and these are all going to be bottom hand, not top hand.
Yes. Okay, good. Let me talk about that for a second then before you get like total stance. If you're holding it here, they see it coming, which is not a bad thing because like if you're looking at it, it's hard to see it. So coming forward, it's hard to see it coming forward. So it's not a bad thing to have it here. The downside, and I'll get to that one in a second. The downside to having it up here is the other way to fight great weapons is to foul their tip. Just to have your sword out and just foul their tip. And that really screws this one up. With two-handed weapons, it's not as bad because you've got the strength to pull it back and fight against their sword. With this, because of the weight of the spear, it's easy to knock the point off. So I like to fight point down, just so they can't get my point. The other thing is, yeah, fighting, what do they call it, heroic style or Greek style? Sorry, this way. I have not been able to make that work because it only comes from this angle. It's always coming at your face. It's only coming over the top. There's nothing that you can really get sideways without a lot of maneuvering of your body and stuff. Whereas if you're fighting with the point forward, like thumb forward, you can get all the angles all the way around. Okay? So, all right, get in your stances. Spear foot forward, spear shoulder back. Shield, I hang out just a little bit. I want to protect that tip. I don't want them to foul my tip. So I'll hang it out some. Sorry, I guess I should pick mine up. Actually, now this is the way that I fight spear and shield. It's just super relaxed because I'm not at range. I don't care if they're close. But if I really want to protect that tip, then I'll hang it all the way out there this way. Good? Or that way, but it's harder to hold it that way. It's easier just to hold it kind of scutum style. And that just protects the tip. All right. So the reason I'm asking you to get in your on guard is so that I can show you the basic attacks. Basic attacks, I mean your number one attack is going to be right at their face. It's hard to see, it's easy to land hard enough that they'll take it because it's the face, anything with the face is good. So that's going to be your first and foremost attack. And it's always going to be to their left eye, or even better, their left ear. I've found the ear to work best. You've got a helmet on, so I'm going to show why. Yeah. So left eye is good because anything that touches there is a kill. Left ear is awesome because that means you're coming in from a really weird angle. But because it's coming in from this angle, it's still going to hit hard enough that it can take their head off to the side. So they know they've got to hit hard. So that's an angle thing. Two major targets. Left eye, left ear. Good? Perfect. So, like, if you get your shield up, left eye because it's coming in this way, or left ear, which is harder for you to see when your shield is up, right? So, coming over that top. Yep. Good. Lefties are super dangerous with this. It's also super dangerous to fight being a lefty against this because your whole side is open. The only reason I'm targeting face with anyone else is because that's the only thing that's open on a right-hander. Left-handers, you get it in the body. The nice thing for you is you've got the same opening on anyone else. Right? That I don't have on any given right-hander. Majority of your opponents being right-handed, you're going to have the advantage.
Kind of the same thing, like side
Good.
like you're moving in toward the team.
So, does that make sense so far? All right, the other big thing about having your tip down. So, basic stance, tips down. Beautiful thing about fighting that way is if you're fighting with a sword, my tip is down, you have no idea where that target is. It's either going to come in under the shield or it's going to come right at the shield and into your face. Which is the kind of bread and butter attack of the spear and shield. So put your shield up again, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. So points down here, you can't see it coming until it's in your face. Even with a small shield. Good? So I always like to have tip down. You know this. So tips down, it comes right up and it's a super surprise. Good? Right? And if you hang it about that way, this is all my range that way. So coming up and under up and over the shield.
Doesn't matter.
From way down low.
You always keep an eye on it.
Surprises. Let's see. Last thing. Okay. Let's see. Let's say you're fighting with a sword. Your thing to kill me fighting with a spear is to close, right? Which means that when I'm fighting with a spear, I gotta move. You have to move when you're fighting with the spear. So you start to close. If I back up, they're gonna keep right up with me. So what you do is you back up about 3 steps. So you go ahead, back up about 3 steps, and then J step out. What that does when you do that J step, so we're here, normal range, closing. If I step this way, now they're at my perfect range, and on that blind side where their spear, where their shield is, I can hit them in that left ear. Good? The other one is if you can slip left, it's a little bit more difficult to get that one. Slip left, because you gotta basically cut or throw a butt spike in that one. Good? But slip sideways is the biggest deal. Last thing when it comes to defense, let me get someone else with a shield. So you're gonna have that person who's gonna dog you the whole time that you're not gonna be able to side slip. So come on forward. Okay, so now they're on you. If you have to defend with a spear, you're in trouble. With a sword, you can defend and that becomes an attack. With a spear, that doesn't work. If your spear is here and you're defending, there is nothing else you can do with it. So if you're at this position, you want to get the heck out. First, your spear should be up here, not defending, because you're trying to drop that butt spike in, coming from a nasty angle. But you're going to have people who are going to dog you. They're going to stay on you. So they're on you, they're on you, they're on you. You get tired of it, what you have to do, put your spear behind your shield, put your shield on theirs, and shove and step right. What that's going to do, I'm not going to shove you hard, but shove and step right. That opens up my spear for that shot It opens up my range again, puts me right back where I want to be. Good enough? All right. That's it. Them's the basics. Actually, that's pretty much it. That's everything that I know about Spear and Shield. Good? And it's effective use. Anytime. Just put on some helmets and play then.